I also want to introduce Pam Gulleson. Now, many of you know Pam. She was Senator Dorgan's Chief of Staff, and you know that Senator Dorgan was Chairman of the Indian Affairs Committee. You know that in that position, he almost single-handedly got the Indian Affairs Health Act continued against ferocious Republican opposition. I will never forget being in the cloakroom with Byron when the leaders came. It was another bill that was moving through, and the Indian Health Care Act was attached to it. And they tried to prevent that from happening. Republicans said they would filibuster the bill if the Indian Health Care Act was included. And I was in the cloakroom when Byron Dorgan was approached by the Democratic leader who said the Republicans say they will filibuster the bill if the Indian Health Care Act is included. And Byron said, let them filibuster, because we will convince enough senators. You have to get 60 in that situation. We'll get enough to side with us to pass the Indian Health Care Act. Now, that took guts, because I can tell you the pressure was incredible on him to separate out the Indian Health Care Act from the rest of the legislation to make the other bill easier to pass. And Byron would not yield. Let me just tell you, you never had a better friend in Washington than Byron Dorgan, and Pam Gulleson was his Chief of Staff. Pam Gulleson.
Thanks so much for coming out this afternoon. We appreciate it greatly. We've been traveling all over the state. I've been here, obviously, many times in the last few months. I was here with Congressman Ben Ray Lujan just a few weeks ago, and we had the opportunity to visit your campus again like I have so many times. And he was so incredibly impressed. This congressman who serves 15 tribes in New Mexico as part of his congressional district. But he was so impressed in the work that's going on right here at United Tribes Technical College. And I can tell you that that's the basis by which I'm running for this. I worked for Byron Dorgan for 9 years. I was his state director. I was his chief of staff. I know that the gains that we've made in terms of all programs, all services, all resources that support our Native American communities, our tribal colleges, our right on down through housing, education, are so important to us, but they were fought for. It was you and your leaders working side by side with Byron Dorgan, Ken Conrad, Earl Pomeroy, to make sure that people understood and understand the issues and stand up and fight for them. And we cannot lose ground here. We cannot lose ground here. And we saw that happen just last fall with, under this new Congressman Rick Byrd. The funding for United Tribes here was literally lost in that House budget. He did not stand up for it. He did not defend it. I don't even think he knew that the funding was gone until Ken Conrad and his staff went to bat again to make sure that we restored that. And that's exactly what it takes. It takes that partnership. It takes that strong commitment. It takes the understanding and the knowledge of knowing. And I will hit the ground running, because that's where I come from. This is not new to me. This is something that we've already been working for so much every day. You know, elections are always about the future. And there's just no better place to stand than right here at a college and look amongst the faces of all of you. Some of you students, some of you staff, some administrators, but all of you completely committed to the future and making sure that the opportunities are there for each and every single generation of people that come through this college. And that's what I am so committed to. That's what I will work for each and every day as your member of Congress. Remember, North Dakota has one member of Congress. We have one voice. It has to be strong, it has to be a fighter, it has to be somebody who already knows the issues. And I can assure you that's exactly what you get with me. You know, we've got 4 days left. We know that these campaigns are going to be tough, they're going to be close, and we need each and every one of you to help us out. And we need each and every one of you to reach out and talk to your friends and your neighbors and your families and help us. Help us. Because on November 6th, so much is at stake. And you don't have to look around, and you don't have to, as Senator Conrad just reminded us, how vulnerable and how much is at stake in terms of just right here. And so thank you so much for coming out today. I appreciate it greatly. Let's go win this thing.
Today, our really outstanding candidate for Lieutenant Governor, Ellen Chaffee. Ellen was the head of Mayville when that campus was restored, really saved. Then she went to Valley City, where she was the president, and she made that institution into one that was recognized nationwide as one of America's very best. Ellen Chaffee, our candidate for Lieutenant Governor.
Oh, it's such a privilege to be here with you. I see some really big smiles. And it's great to be on a campus again. One of the most rewarding things we ever did in public higher education was have opportunities to work with the tribal colleges and United Tribes. And I never intended to get into politics, but if you've met Ryan, how many of you have met him or heard Ryan? All it takes is a few minutes in his company to want to join Team Taylor, and that's what happened to me. One of the first things we did after the Democratic Convention last spring was to attend the United Tribes Technical College Scholarship Dinner last spring. It was a beautiful, beautiful occasion, and I know if Ryan were here, he would say so much better than I can, Bitakuye Oyasin? Is that close? You know? Give her credit for trying. We are all related, and no one knows that better than Ryan, and that's one of the reasons I'm so proud to be associated with him. Another is his commitment to children, to families, and to the long term. I'll be leaving some sheets here that review the things that Ryan Taylor and I will do from up the street here on behalf of preschool children, school children, and university students and families and beyond. It's a very strong emphasis on education, strong emphasis on child care, strong emphasis on ethics, as well as other important topics. And I want to pay tribute to another group of people who I think symbolize how different this election is very likely to be, with help from you and others like you. If you've heard that the citizens of Dunn County have signed a petition to convene a grand jury to investigate the current governor of North Dakota on charges of, and to see whether it warrants indictment on charges of bribery for the money that he has taken into his campaign fund and the decisions that he has made as chairman of the 3-member industrial commission that oversees the oil and gas development in the West. That's not how Art Link oversaw the extraction of coal, and that's not how Ryan Taylor will oversee the extraction of oil and gas.